Awesome. So continuing on, we just went over for each and the for loop. So, those are basically do the same kind of thing. But I think if you look at these two syntaxes, I think you have less chance for error with for each. So I think when you can use for each, I think it's a better way to go. Awesome. So we'll do that. And then moving on to the next array method, we'll move on to map. Map is probably the most common one you'll see, especially when you like go in React land. A lot of maps in React. Cool. So what does map do? It maps, well, I guess I can't use the definition where I'm trying to find. So iterates. Actually, the best way to get it is honestly straight from MDN, map JavaScript. So let's take a look and see. Cool. So per MDN, it says creates a new array with the results of calling a provided function on every element in the calling array. Cool. So big difference here, right? For each and map, they sound the same, but they're not. So what's the big difference, right? Map does create a new array. So we don't have to push the elements into the new array because that's what map's going to do for us, right? And that's why map's like really powerful because, if I was going to do a function like this, I would probably just use map. I mean, because it's probably the better choice because I'd be skipping this step and I would also be skipping this step. And we'll see that below, the advantages of map. So we will do const add 4 to all numbers. And again, the array, right? So this is an array prototype, so won't work on objects, won't work on strings, only arrays. And we'll keep with the function syntax right now. Cool. And you have two options here. You can either name this, which I like to do sometimes. I say const new numbers, right? Equals, and you do like r.map, right? Now, callback just like before. You can do inline, and name your parameter, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it num. And then you can just here, all we need to do is return. Now here we do need to return, right? Because this is going to return it into the new array. So we do need to return in map. And what do we want to return? Just num plus 3. So we don't have to do assignment here. We don't have to push it to the new array, and we don't have to do any of that. So it's really nice. And then down here, don't forget return. If you do name this, a variable, just remember to return that at the end of the function. Well, actually, it's add 4 to all numbers, not add 3. Cool. So we call this function, pass an array, and let's go and just call this. We'll see what we get. Cool. So you can see that, we get the expected results just like we did here and just like we did here. So, I mean, as you can see, you can do just about anything with using any tool, right? But which one's easier? I think map was the best choice, because we knew we wanted to be a return array, and we knew that we wanted to perform a function on each element. So I think that worked out pretty nice. Cool. Any questions on map? Awesome. So then we have some more methods, array methods. The next one is, let's go on to filter. So I'm just gonna pull the MDN docs again because they are probably, JavaScript a lot better than I do. So JavaScript, they have the right words to choose. Let's see. Map filter JavaScript. Okay. Then sometimes in Google you have to have like MDN to actually get the page you want, because you'll get all these Medium docs, and yeah, Medium is great, but sometimes you have to be careful because sometimes it doesn't always give the best advice on Medium articles. So just be careful of that. And I want to filter not map. Why did I type? There we go. There we go. Okay. And so per the definition of filter, and we know it's going to filter out items based on a condition, but it's going to create a new array with all elements that pass the test like that, implemented by the provided function. So, so basically, when it says pass the test, what does it really mean? It really means, does test resolve to true, right? If it is, not, will not be included, right? So I think that's like an extra definition that I think kind of clarifies that a little bit, because pass the test, like, what do you mean pass the test? But it's true or false, right? So let's take a look at it. Numbers and filter. Okay. Wish I had different objects here. Well, we'll do this. We'll add some like bigger numbers. 50, 100, 150, 135, 200. Cool. Now we can filter. All right. Function filter nums greater than 100, right? It's in the array. And just like we did before, you can name your variable if you want. We can say new numbers or filter numbers, right? Filter nums equals. And how do we do this? Anyone want to walk me through this one?
Right. With the I would guess the array dot filter.
Yeah. And then what do you want to call your parameter?
Just whatever number num.
Yeah, just num. Yeah, that's fine.
And arrow function.
Yep, don't forget your arrow. Then in filter, just like in map, we do need a return, because if we don't return, it won't work, right? And this is the test that, when we have to think about this, right? Because we're writing a test that has to pass. So passing is true. Not passing would be false, right? So what is the test we want to write for this one? Well, we just want to, you can walk me through if you want. All right. So num greater than 100, right? So this is the test. Is num, so you can kind of think of it like this return. You can kind of read it like, is num greater than 100? So I think when writing callback functions, read it as is, as is num greater than 100. But obviously, if it's different, is num less than 100, right? But is num greater than 100? Cool. And then what do we have to return? Filter nums greater than 100. So let's take a second and let's understand what this is going to do, right? So this is going to run, call a function, passes an array. And this is going to call this filter function on my array. It's going to come up to the array. It's going to say, okay, first up is 1. It's going to say, this is num is now equal to 1, right? And it says, wait, sorry, we're down here. Num is equal to 1. It says, is num greater than 100? No. Okay. Not going to be included. So it's just going to be left out of the new array because it's a new array, right? It's not the existing array. And then we'll do the same thing for 2. But when it gets to like 150, it's going 150 will come up and it's going to be walking into the function and is 150 greater than 100? Yes. So what it's going to do, it's going to return it in this new array, filter nums. So that's going to be part of it. It's just going to keep doing that till it's over, and that's pretty much what filter does.
I want to change that return statement there.
What do I do here? Oh, thank you. Filter nums. Cool. And then we can call filter, that's a really long function name, R. And we can see we get back 150, 175, and 200. So I mean, it's pretty basic, but I think it's important to understand what filter is actually doing. I think when you take away the difficulty of the problem, you can really focus in on what's actually going on with the filter function. Any questions on filter?
It's not, I have a question, but it's not about filter. What is the difference? We start line 109 with const, filtered nums, then function, array. What is the difference between we start the line 109 with const instead of function?
It is the difference in syntax between a function syntax and an arrow function. Really, it's the same thing. It does change a little bit when you talk about this bindings, but that's a conversation for another day. That being said, for the scope of tonight, function and arrow functions, same thing. So I could write this the same way. I could say const, filter nums greater than 100 equals, R, and then do your arrow function. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
No difference. Arrow functions are newer. This function syntax is the older way, but still commonly used, I would say.
Thank you.
But I think in most part, you'll be writing arrow functions. I'm just trying to keep this as clean and as simple as I can tonight and not kind of, muddled up with too many arrows in one function. Any questions about filter? And, filter is nice because you can also filter based on multiple things. So what if I wanted, numbers between 1 and 175, right? I could say something like num greater than 100 and num less than like 180, right? I can do that. So now only number I should really get should be 175 in this example. Oh, just kidding. I'll go back 150. Forgot about 150 in there. But yeah, you can do that. Yeah, just make sure. Now here's the other important distinction, because you might see this tomorrow, you might not. This, if I just say and less than 180, it doesn't work, right? It's gonna give me back, it's like, what's less than 180? It's like, we don't know what this is. What's this token? But I cover this in a previous session. You really want to think of these like ands or ors or whatever. Think of it as a divider, because if you look at this, you look at the two pipes, which is or, it does look like a wall, right? So and is also a wall. So you also have to give it, what's less than 180. You also say, well, num is less than 180. So I think it's a very small thing, but it's something that can very easily trip you up for a long time if you're not aware of oh yeah, this is a wall. I have to tell it what is less than 180. So small thing, but important distinction. Any questions of that?
Um, so would it be like different using kind of a string instead of a number, or could like say if you're trying to filter out, I don't know, a certain phrase from like a book or something, how many times it was used, or a certain word,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
how would that go about? I guess.
So let's see here. That's just great. We'll say words equals. Yes. I don't know. I'm just gonna make a bunch of words. Dog. And lambda school. Lambda. And then like we want to like say like pizza again, right? So if you want to say like if there's any duplicates, filter out by that.
Sure.
Yeah, let's think about it. So actually a better way to do this, but yeah, you could definitely do filter out. Sometimes I just type thing,
Can I see that array again?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Let's see here. Let's see the simplest way to do it. Okay, so you would want to have some sort of, I don't know if filter would be the best choice, but it would look something like this. This is how you kind of set that up. You see this a lot, lookup object, and what you'll do is you'll, for var enters array, so it's, then you have to push it into the lookup object, and then you're basically like, if, the item is already in the object, then just return it. Otherwise, you want to push it to the new array. So that's a bit more complex. Don't know if there's a good way to do that with just filter. Let's see.
I mean, you could change to the better way because I don't know what would be the better way.
Yeah, we can. Let's see here. Let's come back to that at the end, if we have time. But for the most part, because duplicate items are, they're a bit different because you have to basically have a lookup array object and do some comparisons to see if that one's already in there, and if it, what I mean. So it's a bit more complex. Let's come back to that to the end if we have time. I don't want to get too hung up on complex prompts tonight, but we will come back to it if we have time.
No, you're fine.
I think for now, I think the big thing is like, we did some filters the other night. If, let me go here. I'll just show you some other examples of how you might use filter, because I think just saying num, we'll just show you some extra examples how we use them in the past, just to kind of refresh your mind a little bit. So we did a whole bunch. Oh, where did all my answers go? Oh, this is the solutions, which ironically there's no solutions, right? We did it all. All right, so we filtered out to the car miles was less than 100,000. We want to return all those cars. That's one way we did it. we filter out by previous owners. So if there's only one owner car, we filter out by that. So we did quite a few of these throughout the last couple of days. At least that kind of refreshes your mind how they were done. Any questions on
those last two?
those last two? Were pretty tough, but they were fun. I mean, they were fun. I don't want to melt any minds tonight. I just keep it nice and simple because I melted my own mind last night doing that stuff. Cool. So
Do you have any video links for last night's session?
yeah, I think if you scroll up in Web Part-Time 12, you'll see I posted around like 3 o'clock in the morning last night. JS reviews from 11:19. I believe it's also pinned to the channel.
And it's right above Michael's long message from tonight.
Yep,
Like
right above.
above that.
Exactly. Cool. So just remember, filter says, does the test resolve to true? So is num greater than 100? This does result to true, right? Awesome. Any questions on filter? Awesome. And we have one more major array method, then we'll talk about some bonus ones that we kind of talked about last night, just kind of refresh. Reduce, right? Everyone's favorite. It actually is becoming one of my favorite ones, just because we used reduce last night in a method that isn't normally used, but it was actually extremely useful, right? So let's go to reduce MDN JavaScript, and then I'll add in my own text of what I think can better explain it. All right, so I'm just going to copy this since I typed this. I'll say MDN, I will give credit. All right, so the reduce method executes a reducer function that you provide on each. Wow, this doesn't really give a lot of context, does it? There you go, zoom, refreshing me. Okay, cool. So really, what is this doing, right? It says reducer function. It is reducing 2 items into 1, right? So the rule is, how do we combine these items, right? That's basically what's happening. So we have, let's see, reducer function always takes in accumulator and element, right? And this does return an array. Awesome. Actually, no, this will not return an array. This will return a value. It will return a value of all the combinations, right? And it's the best way to think of it because, how do we take 2 and how do we have 1, and if our rule is, you just take element plus 1, right? Something like that, or accumulator plus element, like that, plus element. Well, how do we do it? So this is the accumulator. Starts off as 2. So the first one is like this, right? So this is the accumulator. Pass it the first time, it's 0. So we get 2. How do we combine 2 into 1? Well, we just accumulator plus element. So it comes down here. New item is now just 2, right? And then how do we combine 2 into 1? So it's going to create this new item. It's going to, 2 and 1, accumulator plus element, accumulator is 2, elements 1, it's 3. I mean, so that's like a very simplistic version of it, right? So let's see how this looks in code, right? Function, I think this is how you'll see it potentially in the future. Function, add all numbers, right? That takes in the array. And from there, I'd like to do my reducer function separate. If you guys have been in my sessions, you see that I write const reducer. We'll say equals, and we'll say we know that takes in the accumulator. Also takes in the element. And then and we were to return, this is our rule. How do we combine two elements into one? Well, we know if we add, that's going to combine the element. If we subtract, that would also combine the element. But here we want to add. So what do we want to add?
Accumulator plus element.
Exactly. So we are telling it how to combine two items into one. Then we can just return. We say r dot reduce. What do we pass in? Reducer. And the initial value, right? So it can be 0, which typically I think will be, but it could be some other number, right? Like what if we were talking about like company checking account and there's like $20,000 initially in it, right? And we were just going to add all the checks in there or something. That could be an option, but here, this will just be probably in most cases just 0. And we can call add all nums and pass in the array. $741. We can verify that. And if you add up all those numbers, it looks like it'd be close to 741. Is it really 741? Seems like a big number for that. 375, 500. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't believing it. Yeah, the math is right. Good job, JavaScript. Cool. Any questions with that?
So the first part where you just like built it out,
Yeah.
that reducer could have been named anything, right? That's just the name you gave.
Yeah, you can callback, func, just CB. That's fine too.
Gotcha.
And these items are also what we name, right? Like we
Those
name this
can
the
be anything.
total and number, right? So if it makes sense to you,
Gotcha.
you can change those. What do we want to return? Well, the total plus num. And then we got changes too. And just CB. Yeah, same thing. Just remember that the first parameter is always going to be the accumulator, and the second parameter is always going to be the element. So you just have to remember those.
Just curious why that number was bigger.
Oh, because I added 1,000 up here.
Oh, gotcha.
Cool. Any questions on that? And we have if you want to see other ways you can use reduce, we have a pretty nice example from last night. That was pretty fun, where the accumulator was actually the array. That was actually pretty neat. Accumulator can be an object, it could be an array, it could be a string, it could really be anything. Even though the string, I don't see too many use cases for that, but it could be.
So then using the dot reduce just kind of tells it that it's going to be adding, I guess?
Well, no. The reduce is just, that's just the name of the prototype, right?
Okay.
See, I think reduce is kind of a bad name, right? It should be called, combine two elements into one over and over and over again.
Gotcha.
But they named it reduce. So I think of reduce better named as combine two elements over and over again. I mean, because that's really what it is, right?
So this is just the way of doing it till the end of the array, basically, rather than
Exactly.
just writing
Yep.
something plus something.
Yep. Because it's going to take, it's going to take 1. It's going to, take 1 and 0. It's going to merge it into that new object. 2, take the roll, merge it. You know what I mean? So it's just going to.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Gotcha.
Any questions on that? Do you guys like this as total and num, or do you guys like this as like accumulator? I kind of like accumulator element that way. Just if you guys reference this back in the future, you can see that we're. Any questions on reduce? Awesome. Those are the main things I think you'll need for tomorrow. Do have a couple things we can talk about, a couple bonus things. We talked about last night. We talked about slice. This one is probably one of my favorite ones, just because it's common. You'll see it quite a bit. So let's go to slice MDN. Let's see what slice MDN JavaScript. Let's see what MDN has to say on the topic. What's going to get technical? All right. The slice returns a shallow copy of a portion of an array into the new array object selected from begin to end not included. I think this is end not included. That's important. Where begin and end represent the index of items in that array. The original array will not be modified. I think that's important, right? So if we have, I'm going to create a new array down here so we can see it. We'll say new array, new R. So this is handy because what if I just want to grab like the first 5 items and nothing else, right? I can say const sliced equals new R slice, and it says here, what does it say? Begin and end represent the index items in the array. It says end not included. So if we want to start at the beginning, it's 0. And if we want the first 5 items, what number would this be?
4.
It'd be 4. Console log sliced. And not included. So I think this is where we have to remember and not included. So if we see 0 to 4, what is it really giving us back? We're going to get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but 5 is not included, right? So if we want the first 5, we have to say end at 5. It's not included, but it's the first item that's not going to be included. So okay, cool. Now we get that. And the other cool thing you can do a slice. You can say the last item, right? Equals new R dot slice. It's kind of cool. It's -1, and because it says, well, 0's here, so can't be that. So it's gonna go over here and say, well, this is the first -1, right? So console log last item. That should be 200. Cool. This is a nice little hack. I use this one all the time. Sometimes it's a little bit easier than write out length, but just remember it is going to return it in an array. Cool. Any questions on slice? There's one more way you can use it. You can say you want to skip the first item. Skip first item. That is equal to new R at slice. What would this be? Yeah, exactly. Just be 1. And we do not have to put the ending value because we don't know, this could change, right? So we don't know. So there we go. We forgot to console log it. Log. Skip item. There we go. We get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all the way to the end. So, it's another tool that you can keep in your toolbox. Any questions? You guys feel confident about the everything we covered tonight? Awesome. Then I think you guys will be just fine for the exam tomorrow. It's not exam, it's just an assessment. Don't think like a test. It's not. I mean, it's a test, but exams are kind of, I don't like calling exam.
Too late, man. I'm already stressing out.
Exactly. It's just a friendly assessment. Cool.
Sit down real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm handwriting a lot of this, so.
Oh, yeah. You mean live here? Yeah, I'll also
Yeah.
provide you with the link as well. That way you can save it. And, feel free to reference any of this material tomorrow. I mean, that's part of, being a developer is.
Oh, I know. I handwrite a lot of stuff because of the muscle memory. And
Yeah, that's true. It helps you out. And you guys feel good? Or did you guys want to do a few more examples? You guys tell me. It's your after-hour session. You tell me what you want to do, and we can do it. If you're good, give me a thumbs up. If you, I guess if you want a few more examples, give me a thumbs up.
Well, just out of curiosity, so everything we went over tonight is basically in the assessment tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, there might be 1 or 2 things that we didn't cover, but I think for the most part, let me take a look. That's gonna cut me off. Yeah, for the most part, if you can know this material and you can do this kind of things, you'll be just fine.
I think for me, it's just more like practicing.
However, anything we covered in JavaScript is fair game. This is not all-inclusive, but if I can find the link again, it's gonna cut me off. Less than a minute. I love when that happens. You guys want to come back for a minute?
Sure.
All right, we'll come back for like 1 more minute.